Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's live. So, what are we going to discuss on today's live? Well, I've spoken a lot about F-1 visas. And this particular live, I want to talk on how to maintain your F-1 status. Okay, what you need to think about and so forth in order to maintain status, because without maintaining it, all kinds of problems can occur. So first, I want to say hello to everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Beginning of the week, Monday. Believe it or not, it's halfway through January already. And what I'll do after I'm done with my talk on the F1s is I will answer whatever questions you put. So you can ask more on the F1s, especially if what I'm saying might not be clear. Or you can ask anything related to U.S. immigration. Okay, so if you ask me things like, how do I immigrate to Australia? I'm not going to be able to help you, okay? I might give suggestions on, paths you can go to find who can help you. But it has to be immigrating to the U.S. or staying in the U.S., anything involved with U.S. immigration law. Okay? Naturalization, citizenship, deportation, removal, waivers, appeals, adjustment, anything and everything. Okay? So that's that. All right. So let's get to it. So first of all, an F-1 visa. What is that? Well, it's a student visa, okay? And the student visa has to be maintained, okay? Meaning that there's all kinds of ways you could fall out of status. And if you do, the DSO, or the designated school official, will say, adios, amigo, and get you off of service and make it so you no longer have legal status, okay? So you have to maintain your status as an F1 in order to proceed forward. And if you don't, there are remedies, okay? And I've done other videos on this, and I'll do more. For example, if you get out of status, you can try to reinstate your status, and so forth. But what you want to make sure you do is not the obvious pitfalls people do that make them fall out of status in the first place. Okay? So what's one of the things that people do? Well, the first thing they do is they drop below full-time. Okay, full-time's designated as 12 hours. 12, academic hours per semester. Now, that doesn't mean might be less or more. It depends on the definition of full-time at that particular school. Okay? For example, some English as second language schools, they have full-time that is a bit less. However, and there's some schools that are a bit more. But for the rule of thumb, you need to maintain 12 hours. If you go to 10 hours because you didn't like a class, or you were sick, or you missed it, or whatever the excuse is, you're going to be in violation of your F1. The DSO is going to put a bad check mark, and boom, you're off. Okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is working. Okay? Some people think they can come here on an F1 and then go work at a restaurant, go work at a 7-Eleven, go work at an accounting firm, do whatever they want. And it's not like that. Okay? You have authorization to go to school. Now, how can you work? Well, you can work 20 hours a week part-time on campus without getting any other specific designation. Okay? Just me, when I was in law school, where did I work? I worked at the library, okay? I worked at the library. So you can work on campus, part-time, 20 hours a week, whatever it is. If there's a cafeteria, if it's working for a professor, if it's as an intern, whatever it is, 20 hours per week on campus. That means 0 off campus unless you have OPT or CPT. Okay, optional practical training or curricular practical training. And how you get those depends, and when you get those depends. However, that's what's required. And the only way you're going to work off campus more than 20 hours a week without OPT or CPT, and it's possible, is to file for a hardship work permit, which is doable. It's possible to get approved, but they're not easy. Like let's say, for example, your father and mother gave all the money for your school, and last month their country got in war and they had to flee. Okay, now they don't have money to send you. That might be a good reason to be able to get a work permit on an emergency hardship basis. Okay, so don't work without authorization. That's a bad thing. That goes in the bad column. Okay, so what else will drop you from being on valid status or violate your F1? Dropping below the normal passing status. Okay, I mean, if you get a D in a class, you're going to be dropped. Okay, so you need to maintain your grades. It doesn't mean you have to be a super smart A, top of the line valedictorian student, but you need to maintain your grades to a reasonable degree. Okay, I mean, just a ballpark, more or less, if you get A, B, or C in anything, you're good to go. You get below that, well, then there's going to be problems. Okay, and again, that doesn't mean there's not ways to rectify it after. I have people who come to me to rectify it after, but it does mean that you have to maintain in all the different ways, because the DSO, which you'll know if you go to a school, the designated school official, is the one that basically gives you all the advice, lets you know what you can do, maintains your valid F1 status, communicates directly with immigration on whether or not you have violated it, and then proceeds from there. You understand, they're under an obligation, if you do violate, not to just sweep it under the rug and forget about it. They will notify immigration, and you will be dropped from F1, and you won't be able to continue school. Okay, so that's all the more reason why it's so important to maintain status. And obviously, those are the obvious ones, right? I mean, if you do crimes, make you inadmissible, that could very well put you in violation of your F1. If your F1 expires and you don't do something in regards to changing status or extending, then of course you're going to be out of status. One nice thing about being out of status with the F1, just so you know, is for the most part, you're not going to accrue unlawful presence days. Okay, that's where, if you've been around immigration for the last, God, was it 20 years now, maybe? You will be subject to the 3 to 10 year bar if you accrue days of unlawful presence. And a lot of people confuse what's unlawful presence with being out of status. Well, if you violate your F, you're definitely out of status, but you're not accruing unlawful presence days. And so there's people, for example, who have been out of status for F1 for many years. And I let them know, look, you can do a perm application, the I-140, and then you can just consular process, and you're not subject to the 10-year bar. You can leave, and of course I have to describe in the cover letter why they're not subject to the 10-year bar, because some officers will see, oh, you were out of status for over a year, boom, 10-year bar, you need a waiver. Okay, without even realizing they fall within an exception because they were on an F1. Okay, so that, in essence, is how to maintain status on the F1. All that makes sense? Alrighty. So, I mean, I could go into more detail on many things, but I'm just giving you the overview. Okay, so let's scroll back to the beginning of all the people who joined, and what I'll do is I will see if we have any questions here. Just a minute. And how are you all doing today? Good? Yes? I know for some of you it's not the morning, some of you it's the evening, depends where you are on this planet. Some of you it's tomorrow. And I don't think it's yesterday for anybody. Okay, just a minute. Let me see what we have here. Oh, thank you, Maestro. You just got the #1 gifter badge. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see. Let's see, just a minute. I got to scroll down here. There's no easy, fast, quick way to do this. I use my finger. I scroll down everybody that joined, and all I do is I run into the questions when they come. Okay. So, Maestro asked, what about SIJ petitions? Okay, so that's SIJS, a Special Immigrant Juvenile Petition. And there's been lots of movement on that as far as, you know, the deadlines and when you can do it. But the bottom line with this is a lot of times, you know, when a kid comes here, and somebody, the parents or whatever, want to petition the child, they try to go through the Hague adoption, which, #1, takes tons of time, super large amounts of money, and it has to work through both the adoption agencies in both countries. Whereas a SIJ petition, if it meets the qualifications and you get the necessary order from the family court, oh, thank you, or the probate court, then what will happen is you first get the order from the family court, and then you proceed to do the SIJ petition to immigration. And if it gets approved, then that's a way that a kid who's under the necessary age will be able to get the green card. And then many times, if they qualify, it's a lot easier, a lot quicker, and a lot less red tape than the adoption petition. Okay? So that's that. I'm not sure when you say what about it, if you have a specific question. If you do, let me know. Like, are you part of it and did something happen? Let me know. Okay, just a minute. Let me scroll and see what other questions we have here. Just a second. I know. It's boring watching me scroll. But just think about the excitement when I find the question and start answering it, yeah? Okay, just a minute. Oh, thanks, Javier. You got the #2 gifter badge. Appreciate it. Let's see. Okay, can new individuals file for TPS if they are from Venezuela? Okay. First of all, thank you. First of all, there are lots of countries that have, TPS from. And TPS, temporary protected status, means, you come from a country, there's something going on in that country that's bad, and the U.S. has designated that as a particular country that will allow you to file TPS to be safe from deportation. So I don't have in my mind, without looking, all of the deadlines of when to do it, and there are different requirements for every one. I can tell you, with fair amount of certainty, that when Trump gets into office, he's certainly not going to voluntarily grant TPS to anybody. He's certainly not going to want to extend TPS. He's going to basically do the opposite. So, he's taking office in a few days, and obviously he doesn't control everything that happens at immigration, but he certainly will try. And TPS is a benefit that's given by the government, and certainly the executive branch can do what it can to try to take it away. So if you are here from Venezuela, and basically you're saying you're new, which means you must have just entered, even if you can file for TPS now, it doesn't mean it won't be taken away in 4 months. I mean, that's the fact, okay? So even though the situation there is not good and everything's happening, if you just entered, you should apply for asylum, okay? That's a whole lot more difficult to try to take away. If you qualify for asylum, then you should do it. There's nothing wrong with applying for asylum and TPS. So if you qualify for TPS, fine. But you should also qualify for asylum because you understand the T in TPS is temporary, okay? Asylum, if you win, is permanent and you get the green card. So that's why you can apply for both at the same time. And if you do, then do it. Okay, thank you, Aggie. You got the number 3 gifter badge. So those are the top 3 today. Okay, so there's your answer on TPS. The answer on TPS, no matter where you're from, go ahead and apply if you can, but you got to look for something else that's more permanent and that can't be easily taken away. Okay, and chances are, if you're on TPS, you may qualify for asylum, okay, or withholding, or Convention Against Torture, depending if you're in proceedings, okay? All right, let's see. Oh, we have a tie for the number 3 gifter badge, UK 123456. I can remember that. Okay, thank you. Do you have to get a tax ID after deportation to open a business? Okay. The question is a little misplaced because if you have been ordered deported, and it's not clear here if you've been ordered deported or you're just fighting your case. Number one, if you've been ordered deported, you're not authorized to stay here and open and run a business. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't, try to get a tax ID still. But the bottom line is, if you're going to open and run a business, you need to be authorized to do it. So I need more information as to where in the procedure you are. Now, you said after deportation, so it would indicate to me that probably you were already ordered deported, and now you still want to do business in the U.S. Okay? So the question is not really, can you get a tax ID? The question is, what can you do to legally get authorization by immigration to do business in the U.S.? And then once that flows through, then of course you can get the tax ID. So I need to know why you were deported. First of all, were you an aggravated felon? Did you commit a crime? Did you just unlawfully stay here? Did you just leave? Okay, why were you deported? And did you illegally re-enter? Are you here back again illegally? Or are you in your home country and you want to open a business? Okay. Are you from a country that has treaties with the U.S. that will allow you to do, for example, an E2, which is an investment visa? You need 50 to 100,000 U.S. dollars. Or do you currently have a business in your home country, even though you've been deported, and you want to open a branch office in the U.S.? That's an L1. And if you are an aggravated felon and you can't get the crime vacated, which you might be able to, but if you can't, can you still come in? And the answer is you can try to do a non-immigrant waiver, even with a deportation, even as an aggravated felon. Okay, so the tax ID flows after you get authorization to do business. So you need to be more concerned about how you get that authorization and how you can get a visa rather than how you just get the tax ID. Okay? All right. So what's the deal here? Death Grammar, thank you. You got the number 3 gifter badge. But how can you get the number 3 gifter badge if 2 other people got the number 3? Okay, I think TikTok has to work on their numbers here. But thanks anyways. Oh, and UK got the number 1 gifter badge. Okay. All right. Olga, you won. You got the number 1. You just gave me a bunch of roses. Thank you. All right. Well, back to the questions. I'm talking about procedures of how you get ranked on the gifter's side. All right. That's funny, right? Okay. Just a second. I have to scroll back up because it just scrolled way down here. Just a minute. Okay, there we go. There's the question I just answered. Okay, now let me scroll back down, start looking for the next ones. Okay, if you're being forced to work under a different alias, can you also qualify for a T visa? Okay, that depends. Okay, T visa is, you're talking about being trafficked in work. Okay? So by you merely saying this, it's possible, but I have to have more facts. Okay? I mean, are they paying you? I mean, I understand it's under a different alias, but are they paying you? And if are they paying you what they're supposed to? Are they giving you benefits? Or are you working from morning till night without pay? Okay, and if you are, how long have you done this? And who is doing this? Is it one person? Is it two people? Is it three people? Is it a whole scheme? Are there other people that have different aliases? You definitely have a case. And I need to know when you say if you're being forced to work under different... How are you being forced? Did they say, we need you to be John Doe in order to work or we're going to kill you? Or did they say, you must work under this alias in order to stay in the country or we're going to call immigration? I mean, how are you being forced? Okay, sometimes people are not really being forced, but they say they are, all right, in order to get the job. So I need to have more facts, but it could very well qualify. And with the T visa, there's no backlog like there is with the U. I mean, we're talking like, 5-10 years. With the T, it's not. So if you qualify, it's a better way to go. And, you can get the green card within 3 years after applying for the T. Okay? So that might be the better way to go. All right? Okay, so anyways, we have 965 likes. We got to get it to 1,000, guys. So can you send me some more hearts? Okay, let's see. TPS AP approved, no problems, traveling between 16 and 26 January. Should I travel? That's a thanks. Thank you. Got above 1,000. That was quick. See, I got a good audience. Okay, so what this person's asking is they have TPS from whatever country. AP means advanced parole, which means they got legal authorization to be able to go and come back. And what they're worried about is when Trump comes into office, he's going to vacate TPS orders and thereby making the AP ineffective. Okay, that's what you're asking. Okay, basically. Thank you, everyone. So if you're asking me, I would say no, don't travel. There might not be any problems, and there might not be anything that he can do from January 21st to January 26th. But we all know Trump. And he's going to be into office, and the first day he's in office, he's going to try to do all kinds of stuff. And I'm telling you, the next 4 years, there's going to be so many lawsuits that the immigration lawyers are going to file, it's going to make you dizzy. It's just a matter, it's not like, well, is he going to keep trying to do what he does, or is he going to keep trying to push the envelope? Of course he is. I don't know where you're trying to travel, but unless your mom is dying, okay, change it. I would not leave, not the way things are. Especially, what I would be concerned about if I were you is, I kind of spoke about this before, but if you're on TPS, well, see if you qualify for something else, okay? TPS is a breather. You're not going to be deported, at least not now. And especially because of what's going to happen. The same reason you're asking this question is why you should be looking for another avenue other than TPS. Okay, that's the reality. So if you're on TPS, again, you might qualify for asylum. If it's been more than a year since you entered, then there's still ways to get around that 1 year issue when doing asylum. That's a fact. Okay? So look at it as the breathing, before the storm comes. Okay, the calm before the storm. Don't just wait for the storm to come while on TPS. Take this opportunity to get another avenue going while you're on TPS. Okay, don't waste the time. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's see what else we got. They're going to deport my auntie back to Mexico. Well, there's all kinds of ways of fighting it, okay? You can call my office. I give you a consultation, but I need to know, why are they going to deport her? You're welcome. How long have you been here? Or your aunt, okay? Is she being deported because she's just out of status? Has she committed a crime? Is she finishing a sentence where she committed a crime? Okay, I need to know all kinds of stuff as to what she might qualify for. She might qualify for cancellation of removal for lawful permanent residence, or if she has the green card, doesn't have the green card, for non-permanent residence, or asylum, withholding, cancellation. She might qualify for adjustment or readjustment. She might qualify for adjustment or for certain kinds of waivers. I need to know where her parents were born. She might qualify for derivative citizenship. All kinds of questions I would have to ask. What I can tell you right now, without knowing anything else, is tell her not to sign any papers. They will get people, ICE officials, I'll come in there, and many of them lie up and down, say, you're going to be in detention for the next 50 years. There's no way you can fight it. Look at everybody around. Doesn't matter what the immigration lawyers or anybody take you. Just sign here and everything will be hunky-dory. And all she's going to do is sign the deportation papers. She's just making it easy for them to deport her, which she shouldn't. Assuming she doesn't want to just fly back to Mexico, which she probably doesn't, then, it's a matter of fighting her case, which is why an immigration attorney needs to come into the picture, okay? All right. Let's see. Thank you, Mao. Okay. I just got a gift. It says just sent a gift, but it doesn't say your name, so I'll have to say thank you. Okay. Let's see. I'm a U.S. citizen. I went abroad for 3 weeks, but coming back to the States, they checked my phone. Why? I don't know why. I can suspect that they think you might be, or they might have information, or they may have had information that you're doing alien smuggling, okay? The question is, when you're a U.S. citizen, what is it that they have authority to do against you, okay? And there are certain crimes. Thanks. Do I look? I mean, I know I look cool anyways, but with those glasses, I looked even cooler. There are certain crimes that Americans, U.S. citizens, can commit that they can get federally prosecuted, and immigration has the authority at least to find out about it, right? So were you traveling with 12 other people? I mean, are there any alien smuggling issues? Were you trying to get a fiancé in and lying about something? Okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the question, I mean, in fact, since you're sending me this, I take it that you passed it and everything's hunky-dory. Okay, but if it's not hunky-dory and you get papers served by you by, the U.S. attorney, give my office a call, because you don't want to fold over and, cave in, especially if you didn't do what it is they say you're doing. Okay, so that might be why. It's hard to say. Okay. You can do SIJS in New York to age 21. I mean, yes, you can do it to age 21 anywhere. Okay, I think what you might be referring to is getting the order from the state court before you submit the SIJ petition to immigration. And in some cases, in some states, it's only 18. In other cases, it's 21. I think that's what you're referring to. Because anybody, if they have the state order properly done, can file the SIJ petition before 21. Okay? All right. Thank you for the gifts. Why don't you say it depends on state for SIJ 18 versus 21? Depends on guardianship law. Well, I just told you. Okay? But again, don't confuse. There's two procedures to ultimately get the SIJ. It's not just getting the state order. That only gets you a third of the way there. Once you get the state order, you have to prepare the entire petition to go to immigration. And it's more than just getting the state order. Okay? All right. Let's see. We had a lot of trouble last Trump term. Well, wait till the next one. They did a lot of improper things. I agree. Everybody agrees. And he's going to not only push the envelope now, I mean, he's going to do stuff that's going to make your head spin. But just have faith that for the next 4 years, immigration attorneys all across the U.S. are going to fight tooth and nail all the stuff he tries to do. I mean, you wouldn't believe what he's going to try to do. I mean, there'll be all kinds of stuff regarding unconstitutionality and trying to usurp authority from the other branches in order to accomplish what he wants. Okay, I mean, that's how it is. Luckily, if you've been following the law, there was an order from the Supreme Court that just came down like 3 days ago, where two of the conservative justices ruled against him, saying that the Judge Marchand can still issue the order of sentencing, even though he's going to be sworn in as the President of the United States. So he'll be sworn in as a felon, okay? Um, the reason I say that is because as all of us immigration attorneys fight everything he's going to do, ultimately it's going to get up to the Supreme Court, and everybody's going to think, well, the Supreme Court is just a bunch of puppets for him. They're going to rubber stamp anything that comes his way. And the fact that two of them just ruled against him on a very significant issue, even though ultimately, he's not going to serve time or anything, but ultimately, if two of them already ruled against him, at least there's the hope there won't be just puppet stamps of everything. And because of that, when all the stuff keeps going up to the U.S. Supreme Court, well, obviously some of it, will be disappointed, because it's hopefully not just going to be a total rubber stamp of everything. We'll be able to fight it. And things take a long time. So over the 4 years and the thousands of cases that are going to come forward, how many of them are ultimately going to end up at the Supreme Court? Who knows? So keep hope, okay? We just need to fight it for 4 more years and make sure democracy stays, and make sure that everything he does is fought every step along the way. In AILA, American Immigration Lawyers Association, last time I saw, I think there's 11,000 immigration lawyers in that organization across the U.S. And they have all kinds of divisions that all they do is fight for immigrants' rights. Okay, so they got your back. All right. All right. But if approached, they had to provide proof. Apply before it's too late. I'm not sure what you're referring to when you say this, proof for what and apply for what before it's too late. I could guess. You might be saying before Trump goes into the office, or, should you apply for TPS if it's still available? And obviously the answer is yes. But the bottom line there is try to get what you can for the green card. Because, if you apply for that and you get the green card and they get that, then you're in. Okay. All right. Just filed to renew my green card. They say I don't have to show up for biometrics. We'll be using the same. If you don't have to show up personally, that's great. You must have just taken biometrics, or must have taken it maybe in the last 15 months, so they can still use it. It's no big deal. If you have to show up, you have to show up for biometrics. They just want to make sure you have no criminal history, to be honest. Okay. Thank you again for the gifts and all that. My wife is here on parole from Nicaragua, married to a U.S. citizen. Can I file for an I-130, 945? It's very possible. If you're a U.S. citizen, it's a bona fide marriage, and she was paroled legally into the U.S., and you have proof of that, then she should qualify. Okay, you should be able to. I can't talk about admissibility. It's just because I don't know. Okay, I'll just throw something out there. Let's say that you have a sex crime with a minor 32 years ago. Well, then you're going to need to do a Walsh waiver in order for that to happen. Or let's say she has a crime making her inadmissible. She'll need to do a waiver. Okay, so on the bottom line from what you're saying, it should be able to go forward, but you ought to check with my office to make sure there's no inadmissibility issues. Okay, I do apply for the U visa since 2018. When do you think I can receive an answer? Is COVID days count? Well, it's not a matter of COVID days count. It's a matter of there's a lot of people that are victims of crime in the U.S. Welcome to the U.S. And so it takes many years for it to become current. So instead of waiting year after year, which you should, but you need to get a bona fide determination, and then you can get a work permit, and then you can wait until it comes. But you also should see if you qualify for something else as well. Some people, because we had questions way above, if you qualify for the U, you might qualify for the S, or you might qualify for the T, okay? Or you might qualify for adjustment based on something else. Just depends. All right, let's see. Wait, It just scrolled all the way to the bottom. Just a minute. Let me get to the where I was. Let's see. Just a minute. Okay. Yeah, this is the one that we talked about before. You're traveling because your father's sick and he wants to see my son, and there's no guarantee of how long he's going to live. I mean, I understand, and legally you can go. Legally, the advanced parole is there, and there's, I'm just telling you. I mean, you asked me originally, should you, and there is a risk, but let's hope that he doesn't just close down all TPS within the 5 days after office, okay? I mean, there's all kinds of ways, I'm telling you, that, for example, if you do that and they bar you from coming back, that, for example, I'd be able to file a suit saying that, it's not retroactive, that all prior APs should be honored type thing. So if you have to fight it, you can still fight it, but you might have to fight it from outside. I think there's a high probability if you come back, if you're only going to be gone for 5 days after he takes office, that you should be able to get back. But I'm not a fortune teller, and I can't tell you exactly what he plans on doing. Okay, but the sooner the better. So yeah, go see your dad and come back sooner than later. Okay, if you see that Trump is going to do anything, if you see, for example, on the news on January 22nd, it says Trump's going to revoke all TPS in the next day, well, then hop on a plane and get back here right away. Don't wait, okay? So you have it in your hands, okay? So that's that, okay? And I mean, I understand why you're going. Your son's disabled and your dad wants to see him type thing. Thank you for the glasses. Okay, I already answered this one. You didn't think I was going to answer it, but here we are. Okay, good morning. It is a good time. Is it a good time now to file for citizenship after 5 years a green card holder? Absolutely, positively, without doubt, yes. If you can become a U.S. citizen, do. We don't know what Trump's going to do, but we know it's going to be bad. We know he's going to try to take away every right under the sun of everyone who's not a U.S. citizen. So, yes, absolutely. I need to make sure, I mean, you can contact my office. I need to make sure that you qualify. It's not just 5 years. There's other things to qualify. But if you do, you ought to get it filed yesterday, okay? My husband had a 5-year ban before he came up. Does he still have a chance if I apply for him? You might. I mean, the answer is most likely yes, but I need to know more information. Is he outside the country right now? Is he inside? Why did he get the 5-year ban? And how did he enter the country? Okay, if he entered, I need to know if he's still subject to the 5-year bar. If not, if he still needs a waiver, he might not need it, but there might be an explanation needed of why he doesn't need a bar. Okay, so absolutely, I wouldn't wait to apply. Just make sure it's done right. Okay, if it's just the 5-year ban issue and no other issues, it's just a matter of doing everything properly. Okay, I agree with you. Attorneys will be needed, especially now. I agree. It's not self-serving. It's the truth. Okay. Okay, and this is the guy that said they checked my phone because some lady said I was looking suspicious. Well, I mean, if they checked it and you're fine, then that's that. If you're thinking you're going to be able to make some lawsuit against them, that's never going to happen. Do DACAs need a waiver for consulate processing? Very, very likely yes. Okay, it depends. If you're here on DACA and you qualify for consulate processing and you've been out of status, which of course you have, then you'll likely need to do a provisional waiver, okay, which you can do while you're waiting here. The provisional waiver goes through, hopefully it's approved, you then leave, no other grounds of inadmissibility, and you come back with the green card. Okay, so yes, don't just do the consular processing without doing what needs to be done. Okay, your parents have been here for 30 years for no criminal record. What will happen? Well, that depends. Okay, I mean, are you a U.S. citizen? How did they enter? Did they enter before 1972? Okay, they might qualify for registry. There's all kinds of things that they might qualify for, but I'd need to see. Okay, if you're denied a consulate for the 601A for criminal record, can you fight that? Okay, what that means is that you filed a provisional waiver inside the U.S., and the provisional waiver only waives unlawful presence. It doesn't waive any crimes. So if you were at my office and I saw you had a crime, I would have never done the 601A because I would have known that it would have been denied. Okay, So now that you're out, I assume that you're out and they denied it. The answer is yes. You can do a waiver of the crime, assuming it can be waived. If it's an aggravated felon, it can't be waived. So contact me, because it's certainly possible to do a criminal waiver now. Forget about the 601A. As long as it can be waived, we do the waiver. It goes through. If it's approved, then you come in as a lawful permanent resident. Okay? So, and I know this one says you've had it since you were 14. It doesn't change anything. If you've had DACA since you were 14, doesn't change anything. If you don't qualify to adjust in the U.S., you still need to do the waiver, the provisional waiver. Okay, I have a question. Does the Lincoln-Riley Act apply to green card holders? First of all, it hasn't passed. Okay, it's the first step in the anti-immigration crusade that got Trump into office in the first place. So we have to see what happens. And I can tell you, even if it does go into office, immigration lawyers are going to fight every other provision of it to show why either it's unconstitutional or why it's not effective or why it can't go. So, again, I don't have a crystal ball. We have to see if it passes. It's going to have a whole heck of a harder time passing the Senate than it did the House. So we'll see. Okay, if they're not reading the law correctly, disorderly conduct 20 years ago, I need more information. Okay, I need to know what the sentence was, and I need to read the statutory language, because you might not even need a waiver for that. Okay. How long the decision after asylum interview can be taken in New York City? Well, it depends. Okay. Depends when it was, but chances are, because of the way the law is now, they have to give it to you within 6 months. Okay. So that's it. He got banned for, he got the ban for crossing the border, 5-year ban, came back a year later. We'll see. What you're forgetting to tell me is how he came back a year later. Okay, if he got banned for 5 years and he came back a year later, my guess is he came back illegally without authorization. That is a deportation. Okay, that's an illegal reentry after a deportation bar. So he has much more than just a 5-year ban if he entered illegally a year later. Then he's not going to qualify to adjust. There's no waivers available for that unless he's been out of the country for 10 years, and then he can apply for a waiver of the permanent bar. So the key issue, which you didn't say here, is how did he come back a year later? Okay, so I need to see if there's other ways he might qualify. Is he a victim of crime? He might qualify for the U visa, things like that. Okay, do I need to file a Pooh Bear? Winnie the Pooh is one of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid. I still like it here and there. Do I need to file an I-130 and a K-1 visa adjustment if I got married and file within 90 days? No, you don't need to do that. Okay? You can file the adjustment, show you're here on the K-1, and that's how that goes. The I-130 is for a new. Okay? How long is the decision? Oh, you already answered that. Do criminal lawyers have to still inform clients of immigration consequences prior to trial? Of course. Of course. Okay? I mean, even before all the case law came out about that, they should still do it. Okay? Because nobody's going to want to, I mean, primarily if someone who's been accused of a crime takes a plea deal and doesn't know what the immigration consequences are, well, then they're not really taking a knowing plea, are they? Okay? As far as when the February bulletin's coming out, it depends. Okay, I mean, they usually update it every month, so you just need to check the website. Okay? So, that does it for today. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their week. I know that our initial issue on the F-1 was quite some time ago, and we talked about a bunch of other stuff. But this will do it for now. Oh, and I know that you say people talk about the Riley Act was already passed. No, that's not true. It passed the House. Okay, it's not law. In order for it to become law, it has to pass the House. It has to pass the Senate. Then the president has to sign it. And I guarantee you that President Biden's not going to sign it. So whoever told you that it was passed, they're just talking about the House. Okay, so it's not law yet. All right, so that's the live for today. Everybody have a good day. contact me, if I didn't answer all your questions on getting consultations and going forward. All right?